I always thought it was strange that she kept her high school yearbook under our bed. Not on the shelf with the others, not boxed in the attic like a normal person. No, tucked beneath the mattress, like a loaded gun wrapped in teenage nostalgia. One night, she was in the shower and I knocked the remote off the bed, bent down to grab it, and there it was. The spine of that goddamn yearbook poking out like a secret waiting to whisper. Curious, I pulled it out, half expecting doodles and bad haircuts. But instead, a Polaroid photo slipped out from between the pages, her in lingerie I'd never seen, draped over a guy whose face I recognized from Facebook. Chris Langston, varsity quarterback, prom king, divorced twice, now a motivational speaker who live streams his rise and grind, workouts shirtless at 6 a.m. like he's allergic to dignity. And suddenly everything made sense. The way she'd started doing her makeup more elaborately before book club, the weird smirk she had while RSVPing to her high school reunion, the fact that she'd ordered a new dress 3 sizes tighter than what she used to wear when we actually went on dates. Still, I didn't confront her. Confrontation is a crude weapon. I preferred the scalpel to the sledgehammer. So I watched, silently, cataloging every lie she fed me. She said she was nervous to see old friends. Her hands didn't tremble like they did when she was actually nervous, though. They trembled like a junkie about to get a hit. She said she didn't remember if Chris would be there. Google said otherwise. He was a confirmed speaker for the event, giving a short motivational toast called Turning Fumbles into Wins. Vomit. I told her I'd go with her. She hesitated, then smiled. Too quickly, too forced, like a poker player bluffing with a pair of twos. That night, while she slept with a grin still stretched across her face, I slipped out of bed and opened her laptop. Password was still Mr. and Mrs. Langston 1999, the dumbest, most revealing kind of joke. Her emails were a landfill of digital lipstick stains. Messages to and from Chris with subject lines like, "Can't wait to see you smiling face with horns," and "No panties this time," winky face, like they were horny teenagers and not grown adults defiling a marriage. But I didn't scream, didn't cry. I downloaded everything, screenshots, videos, selfies, and put them in a folder labeled reunion_slides_final. See, she thought I was tagging along as her loyal husband, the guy who would stand at her side while she basked in old glory and new orgasms. What she didn't know was that I'd already contacted the event organizer, Karen something, one of those Facebook moms who lives for drama and rows, and fed her a carefully tailored sob story. Hey, I know it's unorthodox, but I put together a slideshow for my wife. She's really excited for the reunion, and I wanted to surprise her with some old memories. Would you mind playing it before the keynote? Karen loved it, called it adorable, said she'd make sure it was front and center. Perfect. The next day, I booked a haircut, a tailored suit, even polished my shoes, because when you're going to bury someone socially, you do it in style. Over the next week, I curated every damning image into a professional grade presentation. Started with yearbook photos, then prom night pictures, homecoming snaps. Then came the affair. Her and Chris at a hotel bar, her in that red dress unzipped to her waist, a video of her whispering, "You were always better than him." By the time the slideshow ended, no one would remember her as class sweetheart. They'd remember her as the woman who humiliated her husband, lied to her friends, and crawled back to her washed-up high school crush like a moth to a bug zapper. I tested the video 10 times, set it to autoplay from a thumb drive the second it was plugged in. No room for glitches. No mercy. On the day of the reunion, she looked radiant, painted lips, that tight black dress, heels clicking with anticipation. She didn't notice that I didn't smile when she asked if I was excited. She didn't see the way my hand tightened around the USB in my pocket. But she would. Oh, she would. We looked like a picture-perfect couple from the outside. Matching luggage, joint vacation albums, Sunday brunches where she laughed at my jokes just enough to keep the illusion alive. Our friends used to joke we were the stable ones, the couple others envied. I believed it too for a while. I took pride in making her coffee just the way she liked it, leaving notes in her purse before big meetings, warming up her car when it snowed. I believed marriage was about the small, consistent efforts, and I made mine daily. But something shifted. Slowly, like a faucet starting to drip behind the wall, invisible at first until the water damage starts peeling the paint. It began with her energy, this strange, artificial spark that didn't match anything happening in our lives. She came home from work buzzing, like she'd just walked off a stage instead of out of a budget meeting, talking faster, showering longer, smiling more, but never at me. She started using words she never used before. Alignment, autonomy, self-discovery. At first, I admired it. I thought she was finally investing in herself, maybe getting out of that rut she'd been in. I encouraged it. Bought her books she mentioned. Signed her up for that weekend retreat she said would help her reconnect with her vision. She left without asking if I wanted to come. Said it was just for women. When she came back, she was quiet for 2 days, then started wearing a new perfume. I noticed it clung to the hallway long after she passed. The bottle wasn't in our bathroom. I asked casually what it was. She said, "A friend gave it to me. It's nothing special." She wore it every day after that. Then came the locks. She changed the password on her phone. Said she was doing a digital detox and didn't want to be tempted by scrolling. But she wasn't putting it down, just turning it away. Always face down. Always charging in the closet. One day I walked in and saw the screen light up with a name I didn't recognize, Lenny, and she lunged for it like I was about to set it on fire. "Work stuff," she mumbled, like her voice couldn't keep up with her thoughts. Lenny. She never mentioned a Lenny before. I checked her LinkedIn that night. No Lenny. New connections, though. Lots of them. Half-naked men liking her posts. Her account suddenly private. She never posted anything worth hiding before. She started going out on Tuesdays. Tuesdays. Not the usual girls' night on Friday or Saturday. No. These were quiet evenings where she claimed she was journaling at the cafe or just walking to clear her head. I offered to join once. She hesitated, then smiled too wide, like I'd just told her a joke she wasn't sure how to laugh at. "Babe, I just need some space, okay? Don't make this a thing." A thing. Wanting to take a walk with my wife was now a thing. I started noticing her purchases. New shoes she never wore around me. Receipts for Uber rides from parts of town she claimed she never visited. I found a scarf in the trunk of her car that didn't belong to her. Or to me. It smelled like weed and cologne. She said it was her co-workers, must have left it there after she gave her a ride. But the co-workers she named had moved to Seattle 6 months ago. I Googled it twice just to be sure I wasn't imagining it. Still, I didn't press. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that people went through weird phases. That we were just in a rough patch. That maybe I'd been too busy with work, too caught up in the daily grind to see what she needed. So I leaned in. Tried harder. Cooked more. Asked her questions about her day, her dreams, her plans. But she started answering in vague, floaty language that didn't lead anywhere. "I'm exploring things. I'm figuring myself out. I feel like I've been sleeping for years and just woke up." I asked, "Do you feel trapped?" She smiled and said, "Not anymore." The worst part? She still touched me. Still kissed me goodnight. Still said, "Love you," when she walked out the door. But it was empty. Like she was playing a role she'd already auditioned for in her head and couldn't quite remember the lines. I watched her become someone else in slow motion, and she never noticed me watching. I think that's what broke me the most. Not the betrayal I hadn't confirmed yet, but the ghosting of it. The fact that the woman I loved was still walking around in the same skin, with the same voice, saying all the same things, but meaning none of them. Her eyes used to soften when she looked at me. Now they just calculated, measured, like she was already imagining a life where I was just a memory. But I wasn't ready to let her go. Not yet. Because sometimes, when someone's halfway out the door, the only thing you can do is hold it open and let them walk into the trap you've been quietly building just beyond the threshold. It was the lipstick that did it, not the shade, but the fact that it was on a receipt from a store in a city she wasn't supposed to be in. I found it while organizing the mail, tucked into the bottom of a Target bag she left on the counter. A single small square of glossy thermal paper that read, "Rouge Crush Matte Number 19, $38. Purchased, 2:13 p.m., Downtown Crossing, Boston." She told me she'd been in a planning session all day in Providence, not even out for lunch. And yet here was this timestamp, this tiny, stupid timestamp that cracked the floor beneath my feet. It wasn't just the lie, it was the casualness of it. The ease. Like she'd lied so often now it cost her nothing. I stared at the receipt for 20 minutes, sitting at the kitchen table like it was a murder weapon. My coffee went cold. The clock ticked like a metronome for a life that wasn't mine anymore. My breathing slowed. My thoughts didn't race. They focused. I didn't think about who she was with, or how long it had been going on, or whether she ever actually loved me. I thought about how I could make it matter. That night, I watched her as she hummed in the bathroom, applying that same shade of lipstick, puckering in the mirror like a child playing dress-up. She thought I was watching TV. I was watching her reflection. She came out in a skirt I hadn't seen before, hair curled tighter than usual, that scent again floral, sharp, foreign. Just grabbing dinner with Stacy, she said, slipping on a coat too thin for the weather. Stacy was on vacation in Aruba. I'd seen her story that morning, banana daiquiris and beach hammocks. I didn't mention it. Just nodded. Have fun. She kissed my cheek absently, already halfway out the door, like I was a houseplant she had to water out of obligation. The door shut behind her, and I sat still, that same receipt in my hand, now folded into a perfect square. I didn't follow her. Didn't track her. I already knew. The lipstick matched the selfies she'd been posting in her private Instagram story, one I hadn't been included in. But someone had sent me screenshots. A coworker of hers who always thought I deserved better. She posted from restaurants she claimed she hated, bars she said were too loud, wine she said gave her headaches. Her smile was different in those photos. Wild. Reckless. Alive. She never smiled like that with me. I opened her laptop, still logged in, and clicked on her Uber history. There it was. A ride from our house to Boston, drop off a block from a boutique hotel. Booked at 1:50 p.m. Right before she bought the lipstick. The return trip? Never happened. She must have taken another car back the next morning. I closed the screen slowly. My pulse didn't change. No rage. No panic. Just the feeling of a door clicking shut inside my chest. That was the moment. Not when I saw the receipt. Not even when I read the hotel name. It was when I realized she hadn't even tried to hide it well. That she thought I was that blind. That disposable. That powerless. That she didn't just cheat on me, she erased me from the equation entirely. I wasn't even a consideration in her lie. I didn't matter enough to deceive properly. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, and poured myself a drink. Whiskey. No ice. Sat down and watched the spot on the floor where her suitcase always landed when she came home. That's when the gears started turning. That's when the weight of heartbreak began to compress into strategy. There was no hope of fixing this. No dream of confrontation or closure. Just clarity. The world had tilted, and I was done pretending to keep my balance. I drank slowly, in silence, already picturing the slideshow I'd title High School Sweetheart to Home Wrecking Coward. Already drafting the email I'd send to the reunion coordinator. Already scripting the captions I'd post online when the moment came. I didn't look at our wedding photos. Didn't scroll through old texts. Nostalgia was a luxury for people who had the privilege of mourning. I wasn't mourning. I was preparing. When she came home that night, hours past midnight, I pretended to be asleep. I heard her toes touch the floor softly. Heard the creak of the closet door as she hung up her coat, the whisper of fabric as she changed out of that skirt. She slid into bed beside me without touching me. Didn't even say goodnight. I lay there, motionless, eyes closed, heart steady. And as her breathing slowed into sleep, I opened my eyes and stared at the ceiling, already counting the days until I burned her entire world down. I became a ghost in my own house, moving through it like a man already dead, invisible to the woman who once told me I was her home. She still kissed my cheek in the mornings, still texted me emojis and love yous like clockwork, like automated signals sent out to maintain a failing satellite connection. But I had gone dark. I wasn't confused anymore. I was calculating. I didn't demand answers. I extracted them. Slowly. Quietly. With precision. First, I got access to the phone bill. Not hers, ours. A shared account she never thought to change. Hundreds of messages, all to a single number saved as Lauren Wineglass. Lauren, who didn't exist in her real life. Lauren, who sent texts at 1 a.m. and during work meetings and while we sat on the couch watching Netflix. I ran the number through an online lookup service, $19.95 well spent. Christopher Langston. Of course. I smiled, not because it was funny, but because it was so goddamn predictable. The high school quarterback, still clinging to his glory years, and my wife like both were trophies he could keep polishing in secret. I didn't confront her. I upgraded my moves. I went to our bank account next. She'd changed the password a few months back, claiming she wanted to take over budgeting so I could relax more. That was the first power play. I waited until she left her laptop open again and synced her browser with mine. Every transaction unfolded like a confession. Uber trips that didn't line up with her schedule, Venmo payments labeled for drinks cocktail glass, boutique hotel charges under incidental services. I didn't just see the money trail, I saw the timeline of her deceit. Still, I said nothing. I started working from home more. Quietly canceled meetings. Shifted deadlines. She thought it was a coincidence. She'd still slip on those tight dresses, those heels I'd never seen her wear before, and smile like she was fooling me. She wasn't. I followed her once, but not to where she thought. I followed her best friend, Jenna, the one she always mentioned when she said she was having a girls' night. Jenna, who barely made eye contact with me anymore. I waited near Jenna's condo in my car. No tinted windows. Just parked, silent, ordinary. Jenna came out alone. No makeup. Hair in a bun. Sweatpants. Definitely not headed to meet my wife. I followed her to the gym. I messaged her later, casual, friendly. Hey, hope you and my wife had a fun night. She said you went out. No reply. Then, oh. I thought she was with you. The pause in her typing told me everything. She knew. She was covering. Or at least, she had been. But now I'd exposed the sloppiness of the lie. That was all I needed. I started planting landmines. I left her a note one day that said, I hope Chris is treating you well. No context. No emotion. Just the note on her pillow. She didn't mention it for 2 days. Then, one night, as we were brushing our teeth, she casually asked, Do you remember Chris Langston? From high school? I didn't look up. No, I said, calmly. She nodded slowly, like she was testing the waters. He messaged me out of the blue. Weird, right? I spat in the sink. People are nostalgic, I guess. She said nothing. That night, she didn't touch me. Didn't even try to fake it. Good. I needed her to feel the chill setting in. I started asking little questions. Harmless ones. How's Stacy doing? Did Jenna mention that new guy she's seeing? Was the traffic bad when you left Providence? Each one a bullet hidden in a bouquet. She lied every time, not knowing I already had the answers. Stacy was still in Aruba. Jenna hadn't seen her in a week. And GPS tracking I'd installed in her car, thanks to a discreet little magnet tracker I got online, showed she never even got near Providence that day. She'd parked for 3 hours in a commercial lot 2 blocks from that same hotel. Room service tip, $15. She really was generous when she wasn't spending her own damn money. I even set a trap with her calendar. Created a fake event, anniversary dinner planning, and shared it with her to see if she'd remember or even mention it. She deleted it the next day without a word. Not rescheduled. Not moved. Just erased. I watched her slowly begin to notice that something was off. My tone. My eyes. The way I looked at her. No longer trying to see the woman I married, but simply observing the stranger who had taken her place. She was still lying. Still covering. But I could tell she'd started to wonder how much I knew. That was the fun part. Watching her squirm without ever saying a word. She began checking her phone more often around me, guarding it like a confession box with legs. She once left it charging in the kitchen and returned 5 minutes later, claiming she forgot to set an alarm. The screen was black. She didn't touch it. Just stared at it for a moment, then walked back to bed like a child pretending not to have stolen cookies. I let her go on pretending. Let her think she still had control. That she could manage the lie. But I wasn't managing anymore, I was engineering. I was building the theater for her downfall, seat by seat, light by light, cue by cue. And she didn't even realize she was already standing center stage, spotlit, drenched in the sweat of her own unraveling performance. It happened at the reunion. The place where it all began, the gymnasium of her high school, now dressed up in twinkle lights and white tablecloths, the walls still lined with faded championship banners and desperation. I had planned this moment down to the second, from the moment the DJ cut the music to the second Karen, the overly enthusiastic reunion planner, welcomed everyone to take their seats for this special memory presentation. My wife was radiant, dressed in crimson, hair curled like the version of her I used to recognize, sipping wine and laughing with people she once called classmates and now called strangers. She didn't see me plug in the USB. Didn't notice the screen behind the stage flicker to life. The slideshow began innocently enough, yearbook photos, prom snapshots, a few awkward group shots from science club. She smiled, nudged my arm, whispered, "This is cute." I didn't respond. Then it changed. Slowly. First, a blurry selfie in a hotel mirror, her in that same red dress, with a hand, his hand, on her thigh. Then screenshots. Messages. "Can't wait to taste you again. You're the only thing I think about. Wish he knew what a real man felt like." Her smile froze. The crowd went silent. Forks clinked against plates and stayed there. Her name appeared in each message. Her voice, in a short clip I'd saved from a video she thought she deleted, moaning his name in a way she hadn't said mine in years. Someone gasped. Someone else said, "Is that Chris Langston?" It ended with a photo. The two of them outside the very same hotel where she'd claimed to be on a work retreat. She wasn't even trying to hide. She was glowing in that picture, glowing like adultery was a spiritual experience. The lights came back on. The silence didn't. She turned to me, jaw slack, eyes wide, whispering, "What the hell did you do?" I didn't answer. I just sipped my drink and waited. She stood, stumbled slightly, looked around at the faces she once tried so hard to impress, now staring at her like a corpse that had started twitching. "It's not what you think," she said, voice trembling, hands open like a defendant in front of a jury. No one replied. He reached out to me. We were just talking. Her face twisted as she searched for the next lifeline. It was a mistake. One time. It didn't mean anything. I turned to her slowly, calm, measured, and said, "Which time didn't mean anything? The first hotel, the second, or the time you used our anniversary to book a room under his name?" Her eyes widened. Panic. Then rage. "You were never there for me. I needed more than what you gave. I tried to talk to you, and you just..." She choked on her own script, realizing she was no longer speaking to a man who believed her voice. "You weren't even present. I felt like I was dying inside, and you didn't notice." I leaned in, just enough for her to feel it, but not so close that I made a scene. "You practiced that line, didn't you?" I said. "Was it before or after you told him I was a cold, weak little man clinging to routine?" She flinched. I smiled. "Yeah, I read that part twice." She switched gears again, her expression now soaked in disdain. "You think you're smart, huh? Putting on a show like that in front of all these people? What kind of man does that?" "A patient one," I replied. "A man who gave you every chance to stop. Who watched you turn our life into a sideshow and figured it was only fair you got to be the main act for once." She looked around, realizing no one was stepping in. Not her friends. Not her old classmates. Not even Chris, who had apparently skipped the event altogether, either by accident or because I made sure he got a personalized invite, including a teaser image from the slideshow. "This is disgusting," she muttered. "You're disgusting." "That's rich," I said, without raising my voice. Coming from someone who brought a corpse of a marriage to a high school reunion and dressed it up like it was still breathing. She opened her mouth to retaliate, but no sound came out. Only a shallow breath, followed by a crack in her posture. Her confidence folded in on itself. Her legs weakened. And for the first time, fear, actual fear, surfaced on her face. Not of me. Of the silence. Of the dozens of eyes that now saw her without the filter she spent years perfecting. Her lipstick had smudged slightly. Her hands trembled. The woman who'd spent the last few months scripting her life without me now realized she'd walked straight into a page I had written, bound, and published with an audience in mind. I didn't move. I didn't leave. I just watched her stand there, back straight, smile twitching, trying to figure out whether she should sit down or run. And that's where I left her, standing in the middle of the gymnasium, stuck in a moment that had no exit, surrounded by the ghosts of her former reputation, unsure of what would come next, because for once, she wasn't the one holding the pen. She found me outside the venue, standing by my car in the chill night air, the lights from the gymnasium casting long, fragile shadows across the pavement like broken glass. Her heels clicked violently as she stormed toward me, her face a shifting mask of panic, rage, and desperation, all poorly held together by a thin layer of fading arrogance. "What the hell is wrong with you?" she snapped, her voice louder than necessary, cracking under the weight of too many emotions she no longer knew how to weaponize. I didn't answer, just opened the driver's side door slowly and leaned against it, watching her unravel in real time. "You humiliated me," she shouted, eyes wide, red-rimmed. "In front of my friends, my family. What kind of man does that to his wife?" I met her gaze calmly and said, "You humiliated yourself. I just brought the receipts." She flinched like I'd struck her, her mouth opening, then closing, trying to reshuffle the deck mid-hand. "You don't understand," she began again, softer now, shifting gears. "Chris and I, it wasn't serious. It wasn't even physical until recently. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I tilted my head. So all those hotels were just book clubs? Her face darkened. Don't mock me, she spat. You don't know what it's like to feel trapped. To feel like your life is shrinking around you. I didn't move. You weren't trapped. You were bored. That's not the same thing. Her voice wavered again, trying another tactic, the desperate dance of a woman who realized every step she took was being choreographed by the man she thought was too weak to lead. I felt alone, okay? You were always so present but distant. There but not really. You never looked at me like Chris did. I smiled faintly. Because I was looking at a liar. She blinked hard, her composure slipping. You smothered me. She suddenly exploded, stepping closer. You were obsessed with routine, with order, like I was just another box on your checklist. You didn't make me feel alive. I let her speak, let her scream, let her vomit out every excuse, every sad little line she'd probably rehearsed in her head during those long nights away from home. And when she finally paused, I said, "That's funny. You looked pretty alive in those hotel mirrors." Her eyes burned. You were boring, she hissed. Predictable. Safe. You stopped trying years ago. Maybe if you were half the man Chris is. Chris has 2 failed marriages and a podcast with 17 followers, I said, cutting through her like glass. You traded a husband for a cliché. Her breath caught, and for the first time that night, she looked afraid, not of what I'd do, but of what I'd become. She tried again, quieter now, claws retracting. We can fix this. We've been through worse. This doesn't have to be the end. It ended the night you lied about Boston, I said. Everything since then has just been a funeral. I made a mistake, she whispered, suddenly shrinking, her arms folded across her chest like she was trying to keep herself from falling apart. Don't act like you've been perfect either. No, I said. I was loyal. That's not perfection. That's baseline. Her lip quivered. She took a step back. What do you want me to say? She asked. That I'm a terrible person? That I ruined everything? Fine. I ruined it. But you didn't have to destroy me. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, you destroyed yourself. I just gave you a mirror. Her silence was louder than her screams. She looked around like someone drowning in shallow water, hoping for a rope, a raft, a hand, anything. But there was nothing left to grab. Not her dignity, not her pride, not even the story she'd told herself about being the victim. You're not even angry, she said, voice cracking. You don't care, do you? I shrugged. Not anymore. And that, more than anything, broke her. Because she'd counted on my rage. She'd prepared for tears, for accusations, for begging or violence or heartbreak. What she got instead was detachment. Calm. Precision. Power. The man she had written off as emotionally dull was now the one orchestrating her public collapse with the grace of a surgeon. She stood there, arms limp at her sides now, makeup smeared, eyes glassy, unsure whether to keep fighting or just collapse into the weight of what she'd lost. But I wasn't there to comfort her. I wasn't there to argue. I was there to witness the final act of a performance that had gone on far too long. And in that silence, in the thick, oppressive air between us, she finally understood what true consequence looked like, not shouted, not slammed, but spoken with surgical detachment. And for the first time in her life, she had no idea what to say. Revenge, to me, wasn't about screaming or slashing tires or drunken confrontations in the dead of night. It was about the art of precision, the kind of precision that makes the destruction undeniable, irreversible, and worst of all for her, quiet. The moment the reunion ended, I didn't celebrate. I got to work. First, I locked down the finances. I had already opened a new personal account weeks prior, transferring small, unnoticeable amounts every other day from our joint savings until it was hollowed out like a rotting tree. She didn't notice, too busy planning her next rendezvous to check the numbers. Then came the credit cards. Every single one in my name was frozen, replaced, and reissued. The day after the reunion, she tried to use one at a spa she liked in the city. Declined. Twice. She texted me with a casual, "Hey, something weird happened with the card." I didn't reply. By the time she got home, the utilities were already transferred into my name only. The car she drove, mine. Bought and titled under my name before we ever married. I called the GPS provider, updated the passwords, and shut off her remote access. Next morning, I drove it to a secure parking garage downtown and left it there with a tow alert for unauthorized use. She woke up to an empty driveway. I left her bus fare on the counter with a note. Start walking. Then came the job. I'd done my research. Knew exactly who her HR director was. Sent them a carefully worded anonymous email with attached screenshots, just a few of the less explicit ones, enough to imply moral and reputational compromise. The kind that makes management nervous. I wasn't accusing, I was concerned. Included the dates and times she claimed to be on sick leave or working late, matched against hotel bookings and Uber receipts under her name. I didn't ask for her to be fired. I didn't have to. HR departments don't like messes they didn't make. Then came the legal strike. I had already retained a lawyer, quiet, experienced, aggressive without ever raising his voice. He had everything: bank statements, phone logs, a written record of every lie, every hotel charge, every fake alibi. I wasn't filing out of fury. I was filing from a position of absolute strength. Fault-based divorce in our state still meant something if infidelity could be proven. It could. Irrefutably. Custody wasn't an issue. We didn't have kids. But assets? The house, the investments, the pension? All now positioned in a way that left her only with what I chose to let her keep. A curated collection of meaningless furniture and a closet full of dresses she could no longer afford to wear anywhere that mattered. Then came the personal blow. Her parents adored me. Her mother once told me I was the only man who had ever made her daughter truly safe. So I invited them for coffee, just the two of them. Showed them a folder. Photos, emails, text transcripts. I didn't cry. I didn't accuse. I simply said, I thought you deserved to know what your daughter has done, and what I'm about to do. Her father didn't say a word the entire time. Her mother wept silently. They left with the folder. I haven't heard from them since. Then came the social layer. I didn't rant online. I didn't post revenge stories or trash her publicly. I just unblocked a few mutual friends from my private account and let them see what I'd posted. A single, captionless collage of her and Chris, the hotel photo, the parking receipts, and a copy of the just thinking of you face-blowing kiss. Message timestamp during our anniversary dinner. I didn't tag her. I didn't need to. People talk. The damage ripples. Friends who used to adore her went silent. Group chats turned cold. Invitations dried up. Sympathy evaporated. She messaged me in a panic the day after her HR meeting. Did you do something? I'm being put on review. What the hell is going on? I didn't reply. She called me 6 times the next day. I blocked her number. She showed up at the house 2 days later, pounding on the door, mascara smudged, hair tangled, her voice wild and desperate. I watched through the peephole as she cried, begged, cursed, then collapsed against the door in a heap of broken ego and deflated pride. I didn't open it. Not because I was afraid, but because I wanted her to sit in the silence. The kind of silence you can't yell through. She still thought she had time. That maybe with the right combination of guilt, seduction, or nostalgia, she could pull me back into her web. What she didn't realize was that I wasn't in the web anymore. I was holding the match. And every thread she ever spun was already soaked in gasoline. She walked into the restaurant like nothing had changed, chin high, smile carefully painted on, strutting in heels that echoed against marble floors like a woman trying to prove she still mattered. The dinner was supposed to be a small celebration, her birthday, surrounded by a few close friends, a couple of coworkers, and her parents. I had told her I'd handle the invites, the reservations, even the menu. Just show up and look beautiful, I'd said. She thought it was romantic. She thought I was crawling back, regretting my little display at the reunion, trying to mend what she had spent months tearing apart. She didn't know what I'd done. Didn't know that every person in that room already knew the truth. That I had sent each one of them a digital packet 3 days prior. Every screenshot, every hotel invoice, every message she thought she'd deleted. No commentary. Just facts. Clean, time-stamped, undeniable. Her father arrived first. Said nothing. Didn't hug her. Didn't even smile. Just nodded and took his seat like he was attending a trial, not a party. Her mother followed, eyes red, lips thin, the kind of tight expression that comes when shame outweighs maternal instinct. Then her friends, one by one, each offering her a tight-lipped hey instead of their usual squeals and kisses and inside jokes. She looked confused. A beat too long passed before she realized I wasn't sitting next to her, but across from her, flanked by her best friend on one side and her boss on the other. Jenna, once her confidant, her backup alibi, refused to meet her eyes. Her boss looked stiff, formal, as if regretting every compliment he'd ever written in her performance reviews. She laughed, awkwardly, tried to play it off, cracked a joke about everyone being so serious tonight. No one laughed. Not even a chuckle. The waiter came. She tried to order a cocktail, but I had already arranged for a no-alcohol table. She smiled again, tighter this time. Okay, what's going on? She said, scanning the table. Did someone die? That was the wrong line. Her mother choked down a noise that might have been a sob. Her father stared at his napkin like it had betrayed him. No, I said softly. We just thought you deserved to be surrounded by everyone you've lied to. Her smile twitched. Just a fraction. Excuse me. You've been busy, I continued, my voice calm, deliberate, not rising above conversation level. Chris Langston. Hotel rooms under fake names. Messages you sent while I was making dinner in the next room. Lies to your parents, your friends, your employer. Her jaw clenched. You're seriously doing this? Here. I'm not doing anything, I replied. This is your show. I just invited the audience. She looked around again. Began realizing that no one was rushing to defend her. That even the friend who once helped her cover her tracks was now sitting stone-faced beside me. You smothered me, she blurted out, clinging to the only script she had left. You stopped loving me years ago. You cheated. I cut in, louder now, just enough to silence the hum of nearby tables. Repeatedly, thoughtlessly, on anniversaries, during work hours. You even sent him a video from our bed. Her face paled. She hadn't known I found that one. Her fingers trembled slightly as she reached for her water. She tried to steady herself. It was a mistake, she whispered, voice cracking. I didn't mean for it to go this far. You filmed it, I said. On my pillow. A pin could have dropped and echoed. Her boss cleared his throat and stood abruptly, murmured something about needing to review some pending HR concerns, and left. Jenna followed. Then her father. Her mother paused, placed a small envelope on the table in front of her, and walked out without a word. She opened it. Inside was a family photo and a note in her mother's handwriting. Don't come to Thanksgiving. That's when the tears came. Not loud. Not sobbing. Just slow, disbelieving drops sliding down her face as her world folded in on itself like wet paper. She looked at me, truly looked at me for the first time since this began, and saw someone she didn't recognize, someone not broken, not begging, not even angry. Just done. Finished. The executioner wiping his hands clean. Why are you still here? She asked, voice shaking. To watch, I said. To make sure you feel it. And she did. Oh, she did. Every whisper from the surrounding tables, every avoided gaze, every unreturned smile was a dagger twisting inside her carefully curated illusion. Her identity, loyal wife, respected professional, beloved daughter, lay in fragments at her feet, and there was nothing left for her to hide behind. She broke. Fully, finally. Shoulders collapsing, mascara running, lips trembling in that ugly, gasping way people do when they realize they've lost everything and no one is coming to save them. And I didn't move. I didn't offer comfort. I didn't walk away. I sat there, calm and composed, sipping from my water as she drowned in her own collapse. And the last thing she saw before her face hit the table in her hands wasn't rage or pity. It was me, still watching, still silent, and absolutely unshaken. It happened at her sister's engagement party, of all places, a room full of flowers and laughter, champagne flutes and delicate hands, the kind of soft background music designed to keep everyone smiling and civil. We hadn't spoken in days, but I showed up because I promised her sister I would. I wore the same tailored suit I'd worn to our wedding, the one she used to say made me look like a man who could own the world. Funny thing is, now I actually did. She walked in 20 minutes after me, wearing a white dress, bold, stupid, and the room shifted. Whispers started before she even reached the first cluster of guests. Her father stiffened. Her mother wouldn't meet her eyes. Her sister's fiancé leaned in and whispered something that made her sister's smile vanish mid-sentence. Then she saw me. Her face cracked just a little. She marched up like the spotlight wasn't already on her, like we were still in private, like she had some version of the story that would make everything okay. What the hell are you doing here? She snapped under her breath. You don't belong here. Neither do you, I said calmly, not even turning my head. But I thought it'd be nice for your family to see what kind of woman you really are, without the filters and the crocodile tears. Her voice rose. You've made your point, okay? You dragged me through the dirt. Are you proud of yourself? You sabotaged my job, my reputation, my entire life. No, I cut in, louder this time. You did that. I just gave people the truth you tried to bury under your perfume and your fake smiles. The room fell quiet. A crowd was forming, friends, relatives, the bride-to-be frozen between the cake table and catastrophe. Her voice cracked. You think you're better than me? She shouted, arms trembling. You think you're some noble hero just because you sat back and watched me spiral while you plotted in the shadows like a coward? No, I said, my voice sharp enough to cut the air. I think I'm a man who trusted the wrong woman. A man who built a life while you built excuses. A man who loved you through years of dull silence, emotional absence, and now public betrayal. And you threw it away for some washed-up high school jock who couldn't hold a marriage together if it came with instructions. There were gasps now. Her friends looked away. Her sister's fiancé pulled out his phone, recording. She lost it. You're pathetic, she screamed. You were always weak. Emotionally closed off, boring in bed, obsessed with control. I went looking for passion because you stopped being a man years ago. Passion? I laughed once, cold and sharp. You call sneaking into hotel rooms and sexting during work meetings passion? You call stabbing your vows in the back every other weekend being alive? Don't flatter yourself. You weren't searching for passion. You were searching for attention. And you traded a whole life for a handful of compliments from a man who still peaks during high school reunions. Her face was a mess now, tears, rage, foundation cracking like her voice. You don't get to talk down to me, she shrieked. You don't get to act like you're clean in this. You knew I was slipping, and you did nothing. You didn't fight for me. I didn't fight for you because I didn't realize I was in a war until the bombs already dropped, I said, stepping closer, my voice rising just enough to carry across the room. And when I saw what you really were, when I saw the lies, the manipulation, the casual way you deleted me from your conscience, I realized I wasn't losing a wife. I was shedding dead weight. That's when Chris showed up. Slipped in through the side door, wearing that same smug smirk like he thought he was some tragic romantic lead in a drama he barely understood. He saw the crowd, saw me, and tried to backpedal. I don't want trouble, man, he mumbled. I didn't know things were like this. I turned, smiled at him like a man about to shake hands with a sinking ship. Of course you didn't. She lies to everyone. She turned on him, wild-eyed. Say something, she demanded. Tell them it wasn't just me. Tell them we meant something. Chris looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. I didn't sign up for this, he muttered, backing out the door. You're on your own. And just like that, he was gone. Her mouth opened, but no words came. Her parents were behind her now, stone-faced, silent. Her sister wiped away tears of anger, not sadness. A crowd stood stunned in a half-circle around us. Some were filming. Some just stared. You burned everything, I said, leaning close one last time. And you thought you'd rise from the ashes like some tragic heroine. But this isn't your story anymore. It's mine. And the only role you play in it is the warning. Then I walked out. Left her there, shaking, exposed, surrounded by the debris of every lie she ever told, this time, with nowhere to run. 6 months later, she was a shadow with smudged mascara and no audience left to perform for. After the blow-up at her sister's engagement party, the fallout spread fast and wide like blood and water. Her company didn't fire her outright. They placed her under administrative review and reassigned her to a basement-level position where she processed data sheets in silence, with no team, no trust, and no future. The friends who once gassed her up with affirmations and half-truths stopped replying altogether. Her Instagram went dark, comments disappeared, likes dropped to zero. Even Jenna, the one she thought would always have her back, cut ties after finding out she had used her name as a cover for hotel trysts. Her own sister told her not to show up to the wedding. Her mother sent back a birthday card unopened. Her father didn't speak to her at all. Last I heard, she moved 2 towns over, took a job at a rundown community office answering phones under a different last name. She told people she'd been through a toxic divorce, painting herself as a survivor of a man too cold to love her right. But lies don't land the same when they fall from tired lips and hollow eyes. Chris, the shining star of her secret fantasy, ghosted her less than a week after his name went viral in the wake of the exposure. He sent her one final message, just 4 words, not worth the fallout. She tried dating again, briefly. But the men she found were either broken beyond repair or too perceptive to ignore the stench of desperation that clung to her like cheap perfume. She called once. Unknown number. I picked up out of curiosity. Her voice was raw, like she'd smoked every bridge she ever walked across. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, she said. I wasn't thinking clearly. I thought I was in control. I thought I'd find something better. I said nothing. Just listened to the silence that followed her words. I miss you, she whispered. Every day. I see your face in dreams. You were the best thing in my life, and I destroyed it. I know I can't undo what I did, but please, just talk to me. Just tell me something. Anything. I waited a moment. Let the silence stretch until it became unbearable. Then I said, "Strange. I don't even remember your name anymore." I hung up. She came by the house once, maybe a month later. Stood outside the gate in the rain, hair plastered to her face, mascara streaked, holding a photo of us from our honeymoon like it was evidence of a crime that never got solved. I watched her from the window. She saw me. Raised the photo. Mouth moved. "Please." I turned off the light. She stood there for another 5 minutes, drenched, shivering, waiting for something that would never come. She hasn't come back since. And I moved on. I didn't just survive her, I outgrew her. Found peace, purpose, and a woman who doesn't speak in riddles or hide behind locked phones and fake friendships. I live better now. Not out of spite, but because I finally understand that love without respect isn't love at all. It's just a leash you tighten around your own throat. She lost everything. And I didn't need revenge to finish the job. She destroyed herself. I just let it play out. Thank you for listening to my story. Now tell me, where are you listening from? And did you enjoy the fall?